I'm Martin Lucas Smith. I'm a liaison officer for Cambridge Cycling Campaign, and thank you very much for inviting us to this meeting. I was at the previous meeting, some of you might remember, and I think it's fantastic to see so many people here concerned about making sure that the city feels like a really fantastic place to live. We don't want a sort of 6-lane super highway going through Milton Road, I think it was before. Just very briefly, Cambridge Cycling Campaign is a local charity. We have almost 1,200 members, and I very much hope some of you might be motivated to join afterwards. And we work for better, safer and more cycling in and around Cambridge. So we often look at scrutinised traffic consultations, things like the local plan. We work basically as a sort of critical friend, if you like, to some of the councils. We're not afraid to criticise, but we also want to work constructively. We've worked over, we were founded in 1995, so we've been around for 21 years now. Is that right? Yeah. Milton Road, we think it could be a really fantastic, lovely place. At the moment it is quite a sort of, it's rather dominated, shall we say, by the traffic. And really what is the problem? Obviously peak time congestion. Buses delayed at the junctions mainly, not really in the sort of bits between the junctions, and really very, very poor quality cycle infrastructure. What we are pushing for all around the city is proper, separate cycle facilities, separate from pedestrians, separate from traffic, so that anyone from 8 to 80 could use them confidently, often without the fear of traffic, and often if you're a young child or on their own even. And what we see on Milton Road at the moment is basically pavements that cyclists are permitted to use, and cyclists don't like that. We don't want we don't want to be on the pavements, nor do pedestrians. So here's the solution that has been proposed by not us, by the city deal, and obviously lack of trees, and very, very dominated by 2 bus lanes. Cycle lane squeezed in. I mean, it says 2 metres there, but if you're right next to a bus, you would want to be quite away from that. And I mean, what the Dutch would do, they would aim for 3 or 2.5 metre cycle provision on each side. So we think what's proposed is not the solution. It's very, very bus and car dominated. So the first thing is really about putting in place measures across the city-wide to manage congestion. Edward's obviously going to speak about some of these things, demand management. Things like smart traffic lights, about how we can control the flow of traffic between junctions, and bus lanes and so on. But I think there's sort of 2 points I just want to make on demand management. First of all, we think there's a lot that Stagecoach could do to improve the way that buses actually sort of, for example, come to bus stops and so on. We've been pressing for over 12 years now for Stagecoach to implement some kind of on-street ticketing, so that rather than the situation where a bus comes up and then everyone's sitting in the bus while everyone is having to pay, you can actually pay before you get on the bus. And obviously there are cards and so on. It is ridiculous in this day and age that we still have the situation, where people are having to wait sort of 5 minutes. And of course what it means is the buses are very slow, because if you're trying to do an overall journey, you're having to stop each time. If anyone who's been in London, you know the massive difference it is where you can get on a bus and it goes off straight away. And in fact, last time I was there, I measured, I was at a bus stop, and 20 people got in the space of 17 seconds. Can you imagine that in Cambridge? So I think what we're saying is there is a quid pro quo here. If Stagecoach and other companies want things like bus lanes, they have to do their part as well. And the other big benefit of on-street ticketing and paying before you get in is that it massively increases the capacity for buses in the city centre. Because if a bus is waiting in the middle, and it's there taking fares for 5 minutes, that's 5 minutes of where that bus is taking up that space in the city centre. If a bus can basically go into the centre, get people and drive out, there's a lot more capacity for buses. So there's that quid pro quo. The other thing briefly is on parking. I mean, parking is one of these, is very much a demand management measure. It's something that people think, we need these very expensive congestion charging, all this kind of stuff, which we would have some flavour with. But one way to control it is parking. If people know that there is no parking space in a lot of areas of the city, they will gradually, pretty quickly, learn not to drive there. I live in York Street, so I'm afraid I'm a southerner, shall we say, for the city. But I mean, there the councillors have refused a residence parking scheme. And to me it seems ridiculous that we have the county proposing £30 million plus on bus lane schemes, when people can just drive into somewhere like York Street or those sorts of areas and basically get freebie parking 5 minutes from the centre. I mean, it completely undermines all these initiatives. So that there needs to be a sense of a proper city-wide approach to parking. Maybe that means that you know, all residents should have parking and you know, it's not paid for, whatever, but there needs to be that strategic element to it. Anyway, I should get on to my main part of the talk. So I hope there's some sort of contextual point there. But the main thing we want to see on Milton Road, of course, is proper bicycle infrastructure. At the moment, Cambridge has, I think, about 29% of journeys by bike, which is the highest in the UK. But it's way short of places like many parts of the Netherlands where 40 or 50% are achievable. And of course, we recognise that you know, there are significant numbers of people who can't cycle. Obviously, you know, if you have mobility difficulties and so on. So we're not saying cycling is the only solution, but what we are saying is that there are a lot of journeys that could be made by bike. And if we can encourage those people, well, if we can provide a facility that people who want to use to cycle, that effectively frees up space for people who have much less choice. And that includes, of course, people who are coming in from outside the city who may not want to cycle much longer distances. So we want to get really high quality facilities along Milton Road and other places like Newmarket Road and so on that would enable people to cycle who are able to. And there's a lot of people, I think, who would if the conditions were much safer and nicer. Here's a picture from the Netherlands. It's a lovely avenue of trees, and it's a lovely place, isn't it? I mean, obviously this is not next to housing, but it shows that you can sort of design streets nicely. This is a little bit more similar. This is actually to Milton Road. This is a street that's about the same width as Milton Road, but as you can see, it's a much less sort of traffic-dominated kind of feel to it. Here's another. You can see on the left-hand side there, there's a sort of separate cycle track and there's a separate pavement, so there's no mixing of pedestrians and cycles. And again, that's a very similar width to Milton Road. And I don't know about you, but I mean, I think that sort of thing is the kind of thing that would motivate people to cycle much more than the kind of pavement, you know, sort of bits of grotty pavement, that badly maintained pavement that we currently have. And of course, it would massively improve things for pedestrians as well. So this is a kind of example of something that could be achieved. This, in fact, is this street from Assen in Netherlands is. It's actually exactly the same width as Gilbert Road, would you believe? So in fact, there's even a bit more space in Milton Road. So what you have on the right-hand side is you've got a pavement, nice and wide. You've got a cycle track, about 2.5 metres. You've got trees interspersed with parking. If you needed parking, you could just have the trees. You've got a 6-metre wide road, and you've got the same thing on the other side, although there's, the sort of tree section is more like a sort of set of bushes, but the Milton Road, of course, is a bit wider. And you can see there that, I mean, I don't know what you think, but I mean, that's, again, I think the kind of thing where people who perhaps wouldn't be very confident on a bike at the moment would think, yes, I could do that. And you can see it's very direct. So whether you're someone who wants to sort of poodle along, I've got a Dutch bike, I'm definitely a poodler, or you sort of want to go much faster, you've got infrastructure that meets your needs, that doesn't sort of interfere with traffic or with pedestrians, and it's a very efficient form of transport that can get a lot of people through that corridor. So, I mean, let's look at this. I mean, this isn't particularly nice. This is kind of what Milton Road sort of could become, a rather sort of expanse of concrete. Here's an existing expanse of concrete that you're going to get. It's called Newmarket Road, unless you stop it. And again, this is an area that could be easily improved towards this kind of approach. So my colleague Robin, who actually created this presentation, I sort of come in at the last minute, he's created some cross sections of how we think Milton Road could be. And so what we've got there, again, we've got a footway, we've got a cycle track, we've got trees on either side, and we've got 3-metre traffic lanes. That's without a bus lane. We'll show you a bus version equivalent. But this we think would be a much better way of getting a lot of people down through Milton Road. We can make planting on one side larger if you wanted to, but it's just and if you needed car parking or cross storage, as we called it, we would like to see cars. If they're going to be on the public carway, they probably shouldn't be sort of stored there for hours and hours, days and days at a time. You can intersperse the one side of the trees with the parking effectively. So you should have a tree and then parking space and so on. In fact, there was that picture's a similar kind of thing. So you wouldn't even need to do some parking, and yet you can have trees as well. Yeah, so moving on. So no shared use, 2.5 metre cycleways each side, priority at side roads, so you continue over the side road, you don't have to give way all the time and stop, which makes it very slow, and protected junctions, which is what I'll talk about now, and also the removal of rat runs. Obviously, rat runs are a big problem, but they also mean that people are encouraged to drive when in fact, you could be cycling otherwise. So what's a protected junction? Well, I'm going to just give you a little video actually. So protected junction is an idea from North Europe. It's the idea that bicycle traffic is completely separated from motorised traffic in both time and space at a major junction. And that pedestrian traffic, and again, pedestrians are not mixing with bikes. And so you have a separate bicycle and pedestrian phase, and all the bikes go at the same time, and at the same time as the pedestrians. And this is the kind of intersection that you have to have, really, when you get up to the sort of 40–50% level of cycling that we think is entirely achievable in this city. So I'll quickly show you a video of this. So I don't know how Robin made this. We keep getting requests from all over social media about how did you make this. So this is the junction. What we've got here along here is Milton Road. And we've actually got an example here with a bus lane, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And down to the bottom there, we've got the Newmarket Road junction. And what we've got is there are the yellow bits, they are where pedestrians are. Along here, and you see crossing there, there's a pedestrian waiting. And the green, the sort of the darker yellow with these little people there, they're the bikes. So you can see if you're sort of travelling along, you can keep going. The bike doesn't even need, there's no traffic light that affects the bike. Likewise, if you're coming along Milton Road from out of town and it's only left into Newmarket Road, again, you don't need to, you can just carry on going round.
You mean Elizabeth Way, actually?
Sorry, yes, of course, sorry, yeah. Thank you. And if you need to cross over, you can see that the bike has come to this point here, just before the junction. So effectively, the only bit that you actually cross is there. It's a very short crossing sort of section. And what this means is that you can actually increase, this design will increase the number of cars that can go through this junction. Because instead of having to have a long time when you're waiting for a pedestrian to cross and a cycle to cross, it's a much shorter period because the space that you're crossing over that road is very small. And so for lots of journeys, you would never have to stop at a light. Drivers can go through more efficiently. There's no interaction between bikes and cars. And of course it's good for pedestrians as well, who again have their own space. And we've shown here an example including a tidal bus lane. So this is the idea that we've said before midday, there'd be a bus lane going into town, and after about 1 o'clock, so there'd be a dead period of an hour, after 1 o'clock until the end of the day, the bus lane would go in the opposite direction. And surely it's technologically possible to make sure that buses at other ends don't sort of both start in the bus lane these days. Maybe Stagecoach can fix that one as well. But the key point about tidal bus lane is that actually, again, if you remember what I said at the beginning, it's not really the sort of bits between the junctions the problem. It's actually at the junctions. And with modern light technology, what you can do is you can hold back. You can effectively synchronise the lights so that when a car comes in, if they know that there's a bus sort of needing to approach from behind, they can hold the cars and allow the buses through, so that then the bus has a sort of a free run of the traffic. In other words, you wouldn't actually need a bus lane all the way along the road, just as you approach the junctions. Okay, I'm nearly there. So that's the idea of a protected junction, and I'll skip through the slides, which has all the details of it. So just to finish off, so the bus, you could achieve a bus lane. Again, you have got the space on Milton Road, but it would only need to be used by express buses. So the problem of actually the bus, when you get to a bus stop, it'll only be the local buses that actually need to use that. We've got some process for closing rat runs. If you're going, for example, between Castle School and Haymakers, currently you've got three options as there. You've got Asham Road, which is a rat run at the moment. You've got Gilbert Road.
Is this specifically cycling?
No.
You can retain yourself from cycling because everyone's got...
Yeah.
Okay,
So I'll skip over that. But basically, there are definitely opportunities to avoid rat runs, and we've shown here, for example, that route would only add an extra 100 metres in terms of driving if you went via Chesterton Road. So I'll skip over that. Any questions? Someone there.
Hi, can I just say, 99% of the traffic that is on Milton Road doesn't want to be there. The cycles, the roads, everything. They're all going somewhere else. Obviously, the people here are worried about the 1% who live here. Milton Road is an obstruction to people who are trying to get into the city. If you're cycling, you've got to cross Milton Road. Improving the routes along Milton Road, Elizabeth Way, is the wrong approach for cyclists. Because what you really got to have is joined up series of network roads away from the main road, so that people don't have to cycle down Milton Road. For example, I'd like to see Stratton Avenue, for example, being used. It's a much more direct route into the city. Comes out at the top of Castle Hill or along Chesterton Road, you go over Jesus Green. Cycling, other than for the people who live on Milton Road, don't want to use Milton Road. We don't need to do these sort of things. This is you're playing the same game as the council here, the same game as City Deal. They've divided the whole thing up into little pieces. They're not looking as an overall, joined up, integrated transport system for the whole city, which would actually mean that the 99% that don't want to be on Milton Road wouldn't come anywhere near. There'd be better ring roads around the outside, so that traffic could go around Cambridge rather than through it. There'd be better signage on the M11 and the A14, so that people didn't have to come through here. They're lost when they're on Milton Road.
Yep.
Most of them want to get to the centre, and it's the same with cycling. You need to have high quality, linked up, joined up routes going where people want to go, radial routes or whatever around the city, which don't go anywhere near Milton Road, and then I'd support your plans.
I would certainly agree with you on the point that there needs to be a much greater sense of a proper plan for the city. I mean, one thing we've criticised certainly is the fact that we have a consultation for Milton Road and Histon Road going on, and at the same time we have a consultation for the whole of the city. I mean, you'd thought you'd sort of get a strategy in first, and then you have Milton Road. But the fact is that it is the direct routes that do go where people want to go. What we've seen over the last 15 years in the city is a lot of work by the county, very good work, to improve the sort of cycle routes that meander through the areas, bridges and so on. But I mean, if we a lot of these routes, they're very difficult to follow. They're not very direct. They're slow. These routes go where you want. So I would really disagree with that. And I think you seem to be judging on the basis of what Milton Road is currently like. And actually, as I think some of the pictures showed, it could be a beautiful road to cycle on. There's absolutely no reason it couldn't be both. And it's direct. So.
Sorry, that's it, coming up from behind.
Martin, you show the cyclists just going in one direction on your diagram that you've just removed from me.
Yeah.
Can you put it back to the
sorry,
cross?
at the end.
No, the one you were on a second ago. That one, the cross section, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're showing cyclists on one side of the road heading north and on the other side of the road heading south.
That's right.
One of the issues we've got is that school children in particular have to get from, say, Arbury Road down to Asham Road. Yeah, under your plans, they would have to cross Milton Road twice. What provisions would you put in to help people cross the road, often in the middle of the road, if you like, so perhaps somewhere halfway between King's Hedges Road and Arbury Road? If you lived in that area, you'd have to cross over a busy road to get into the cycle lane, to come down and then cross again at Asham Road.
The problem of sort of affecting that sort of contraflow kind of bit is an issue with some cycle provision. I mean, one approach is that you could have sections which do allow a bit of two-way, and it is wide enough to permit that. Don't forget we're talking about 2.5 metres. My colleague Jim here, he's sort of been dealing with this a lot. I mean, Jim, you have particular sort of knowledge on this, I think. Is that right?
Well,
sort of
I mean, it can be complicated at side roads when you have two-way cycle lanes off-road like that, because drivers find there have been 2 incidents on Trumpets Road where there's a two-way cycle road. So often, for that sort of route, you should be finding another cut-through away from the main road to mean that people don't have to cross the road twice.
Correct. Say from Moyhead Drive, say
Yeah.
down to the shops, no cut through.
Well, I mean,
There's a cycle path direct. All the kids go down that one.
yeah, well, we know there are different choices.
Thank you. One more question. The lady there, please. Yes. Might come in.
It's okay, I can speak quite louder.
No, I need to pick.
What you are proposing, I think, is actually what we already have, and why can't we just improve what we've got, frankly? We've got the trees, we've got the cycle lanes along Milton Road, they just need to be improved. They're in a terrible condition. I cycle to work every day, I don't even have a car. So I go from Hawthorne Way to Science Park every day, there and back, and I think what it needs is just to do with what we've got, and just improve it, and not start cutting down the trees that are there, and then putting some other funny trees that are actually not even nice. So, I mean, they just look terrible. And I would suggest that we introduce rickshaw taxis, that would be another opportunity for somebody to open a business. So that will cut down, I would be delighted to be rickshaw to Science Park, But frankly, I think we should work with what we've got.
Well, you certainly wouldn't get you certainly wouldn't get a rickshaw taxi down the current cycle provision, which is rather difficult to come put a payment. But I mean, we do accept that some moving of trees would be needed, and of course you can sort of get. I mean, if we look at to get the width that's. Well,
Okay.
I think
Thank
the
you
question
very
is how you
much.
get the
We're losing this. That I think is enough
Yeah.
on the cycle campaign. Martin, thank you very much indeed.